I'd like to welcome everybody tonight to this edition of Getting to Know Kennewick Schools. This is one presentation in a series of presentations that have been brought to the community this year. Tonight, we're going to focus on careers in the Kennewick School District. I'm Doug Christensen, the Associate Superintendent in Human Resources, and we also have with us tonight Ms. Toni Neidhold, who's our Director of Human Resources, and we'll be sharing some information with you tonight. But the highlight of the evening will be to hear from some of our employees and why they chose to work in Kennewick and continue to choose to work here. And so we're excited later on in the presentation to hear from some of them. We do have Spanish translation available this evening, if that's something that you'd like to take advantage of. And I will take this opportunity to let you know that we will have another one of these Getting to Know Kennewick Schools presentations on April the 20th. Next month, that will focus on reading, and some of our leaders from our curriculum department will share important information with the community about how we approach reading in our schools. So get that on your calendars as well. We will also have some time at the end of this evening for questions and answers. And so if you have questions that come up while we're sharing some information tonight, please feel free to put those in the chat box. And as we finish our presentation, we'll take the time to try to answer as many of those questions as we can. One of the reasons that I'm excited to present about working in Kennewick Schools is because I have been an employee here in the school district for quite a while, some 25 years, in fact. But my experience with the district goes back even further than that, as my young parents brought us children into the Kennewick community in 1980. I became a student of the Kennewick School District and went through middle school and high school and had a lot of great teachers and activity advisors and coaches and support staff and principals. And it was one of the reasons why I chose to work back here in my career, is for the people. And I think as you listen to us tonight, as we share, you'll see that really what makes Kennewick a great place to work is the people. And we'll spend some time talking about that. So we'll just start off with just some background about the district. As many of you know who have lived in our community for a long time, Kennewick has really grown the past few decades. To date, we are up to 17 elementary schools that spread across the east side to the west side of Kennewick, north and south, 5 comprehensive middle schools, 3 large high schools, and Kennewick High and Southridge High and Kennewick High. We also have lots of other opportunities for students and families. We have project-based high school opportunities, alternative schools. We have a homeschool partnership, online school options, a STEM high school partnership with Richland and Pasco at Delta, and a Tri-City Skills Center that serves a lot of our students who are looking to get into trades after high school. Today, we have over 18,500 students who attend all of these schools in one way or another, which is more than double the amount of students that attended when I was in school. So as you can see, Kennewick's really grown. Apart from hundreds and thousands of employees that work in our schools, we also have hundreds of employees that work in other buildings throughout the district that do various things, both support services in our district office, our maintenance buildings, our shops, transportation nutrition services buildings. Many of you know over off of Kellogg Street, you see the hundreds of school buses that park there every night. Multiple playing fields at our school, our stadium. There are just a lot of employees who work outside of the regular school setting. So just how many employees do we have on a regular basis? Over 2,600. And those really are about half certificated employees and about half classified employees. So teachers, paraeducators, secretaries, our administrators, our support staff, and as I just mentioned, our maintenance and operations staff, our bus drivers, our nutrition services, cooks and cashiers, substitutes, principals, just a wide variety of job opportunities in our school district. And an organization this size with over 2,600 employees, some of you may be aware that that makes us the largest employer in the city of Kennewick in terms of employees. And probably about the top 4 or 5 employers throughout the entire region. And so it's a pretty large operation with lots of opportunities. One thing to note as well as we look at our statistics of how employees stay with us once they're hired, a recent look at the data show that over 90% of our teachers stay with us after they're hired. And I think that says a lot about the quality of an organization when your employees come to work for you and then stay. So we're really proud of that, and we're looking for ways to make that percentage even higher. As you'll see printed throughout our website and on our job applications and throughout, Kennewick also prides itself in being an equal opportunity employer. Our policy 5010 states the following: the district will provide equal employment opportunities and treatment for all applicants and staff in the recruitment, hiring, retention, assignment, transfer, promotion, and training. Such equal employment opportunities will be provided without discrimination, race, creed, religion, color, national origin, age, honorably discharged veteran or military status, sex, sexual orientation, gender expression or identity, marital status, the presence of any sensory, mental, or physical disability, or the use of a trained dog guide or service animal by a person with a disability. And the reason why I wanted to include this slide is we have lots of job opportunities for everybody. And we wouldn't want anyone to think that they wouldn't be eligible for a job opportunity based on any type of a status that one might think would be disregarded or not invited. So we invite all to apply for our jobs. With that, I'll turn a little bit of the time over to Ms. Toni Neidhold.
Good evening, everyone. Unlike Doug, I'm relatively new to the Kennewick School District. I've been here just over a year, started last January. But a lot like Doug, I'm also a product of the Kennewick School District. I was a proud Vista Viking, a proud Desert Hills Hawk, and a proud Kennewick Brave. So I grew up in this system, and I just find it to be such an honor to be back and be able to contribute in any way possible, especially through hiring great staff to work with our students. So there's a lot of opportunities to work in the Kennewick School District, and I've listed just a few here, and Doug talked about the different positions that we have in the district. Substituting is a great opportunity for people to work within the district, get to know what they like to do, get to know our schools, and also have a pretty flexible work schedule. So, if there's days that you want to work, but other days where you have children at home or other commitments, substituting is sometimes a great option. It's also a wonderful way to get your foot in the door. Of course, we have teaching positions, paraeducator positions, secretarial positions within the district. Again, like Doug mentioned, maintenance and operations, including grounds workers, food services, transportation and technology, and the list kind of goes on and on. This isn't exhaustive, but there's a lot of opportunity for people with a lot of different skill sets. So why Kennewick? So like I mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity for part-time work and full-time work. So it can be a very flexible work schedule. A lot of people really like working for the school district because the schedule matches up with their students, their children that are attending Kennewick schools. So you would get those normal breaks, the winter break and spring break and summer break off to spend with your family. So it's sometimes a really ideal working situation for people. You get to help our students succeed and contribute to the community. So we're growing future leaders in the Kennewick School District, and being a part of that is a wonderful opportunity for people. We have competitive wages, and we also have a full package of insurance benefits. You just have to work at least half time to qualify for those benefits. So that's actually, and the benefits that we have through the state of Washington are very strong. We have tons of professional development opportunities for all positions within our district. It's a very strong focus in the school district to help grow and continue to learn alongside our kids. And we also have partnerships with various universities for people to pursue teaching degrees, especially our paraeducators in the school district. And I think that that's a huge advantage as well. If you're not sure if you want to teach and you want to get your foot in the door as a paraeducator and then pursue a teaching degree because you found your passion, there's a lot of very doable ways to do that when you work in the Kennewick School District. Now I believe we're going to hear from some of our amazing staff on why they work in the Kennewick School District. And I think that you'll find these stories very compelling.
Thank you, Toni. We'd like to thank our communications department now, as well as we're about to see some videos that they help produce. Various employees, different jobs in our district. And then when we finish looking at 5 or 6 short videos, we'll talk a little bit more about how to apply for jobs and do some questions and answers as well. So here we go.
I chose the Kennewick School District. I actually came back to the Kennewick School District because of the people here. I feel like we hire amazing people. We hire people that are passionate about student achievement and about student relationships, and that drew me back. And I wanted to be surrounded by those kinds of educators. My administrators and my team believed in me. That really helped support me and help me fulfill my passions here. I never felt alone. One of the biggest focuses has been belonging versus fitting in. And that validates who we are as employees, and we're able to be more confident in what our passions are. The collaboration and the support that I felt when I did my student teaching here, that's why I chose Kennewick School District.
I chose the Kennewick School District because that's the school district my kids were attending, and I wanted to be able to stay in the same district that they were. It gave me the opportunity to be home with them on days off. During Christmas vacation, Spring's vacation, we had all of our summer vacations together. I was off early enough in the evenings that if they had ball or other outside activities, I was able to get home and take them to all of their other activities. But I think the biggest thing is it's very rewarding. We have trained moms. We've had a couple of pastors. We've had just all walks of life. It's a great opportunity. It's the most rewarding job you'll ever have. We may be the first adult they see in the morning. We may be the last adult they see at night, depending on what their home's like. Being there for the kids, being an ear when they need someone to talk to, compassion. That's why I chose Kennewick School District.
I chose Kennewick School District. It has a very big special place in my heart because I was a one-way dual language student when I arrived to the United States from Mexico. So I have been with Kennewick School District since elementary school. I started in 2015 as a paraeducator. From then I did my student teaching, and now I teach one-way dual language, which means that some of my students are monolingual Spanish speakers, which means they come in from different countries only speaking Spanish. And some of my students are bilingual already. They were raised here and they're able to speak both English and Spanish. And as dual language teachers, we work on strengthening both of those languages so that they become bilingual, biliterate, and bicultural. The students take a lot of pride into their identity and being able to speak both of those languages. My favorite thing about being a part of the school district has to be the families and students that I get to work with and serve. I see myself as being one of them, so being able to make those connections just makes me so proud. And that's why I chose Kennewick School District.
Being once part of the Kennewick School District as a student, and now being on the other side, I think you can see how much every single employee of the Kennewick School District works for their students and the community and the family. So I think that's something I love to be part of.
We always grew up loving kids. We were the older ones in the kid group, taking care of little kids, and no matter what little job you do there, it's big to them and it helps out. They make it worthwhile and they make it interesting. And there's never, like I say, there's never a boring day with the kids.
You kind of took the words out of my mouth. I wasn't going to say that. Since the very beginning, even as like subs, we were constantly told by the others that we were appreciated, that they appreciated all the work we did, and that made us feel very valued. And they're constantly giving us like new learning opportunities, whether it be professional development or like training.
There's always room for growth. I would say that no matter what position you're in, you can make an impact for the need of the student and for the families and the whole community. So
that's why we chose Kennewick School District. I chose this Kennewick School District because I came on a visit kind of just to see the program and see the school. And when I got there, everyone was saying hi to me. They were like so excited to have you. And that was before I even accepted the job. So I kind of knew the environment I was getting into. And then once I was there, what stood out to me most was like the first week of school. Every day there was someone coming into my classroom asking me, how's everything going? Are you okay? You need anything? Can I help you? And it never really stopped after the first week, but the community and the environment there is something that is special to be a part of. And then my admin have been really great. They help me with anything that I need. If I have an issue, I can call them down and they'll be there whenever I need them. And I've talked to other first-year teachers and there's not as much support and they kind of feel lost, and I never felt like I was behind on anything. They were always making sure that I was ready and prepared. All of the opportunities we get to grow as an educator and get to go to all these trainings and get to learn and continue to learn. And that's why I chose Kennewick School District.
A lot of people, when they think about giving back to the community, they think about volunteering. But also when you work at the school district, I am supporting the busy mom that have hectic morning, busy schedule, that is not able to pack lunch for her kids. Before my son was born, I managed restaurants. I was a district manager. I used to work long hours, 10, 12 hours a day. We had problem, daycares only open at 7, close at 5:30 or 6, so I only had that window to work. Then when my son started kindergarten, I found myself in the same situation. When they have days off, holidays, it was very hard for me to go in either earlier or stay longer. So I felt I wasn't giving my 100% to my job, and I wasn't doing my 100% at home as a mom. I like working at school districts. I don't have to stress about summer vacations, spring break, Christmas break, days off. They understand kids. They understand the day I'm calling in the morning, my son woke up with a fever. That's really what I love about it. It gives me that flexibility. I'm home when my son goes to school, and I'm home when he comes back. That's why I chose the Kennewick School District.
We sure appreciate our employees taking the time to talk about their stories and to share why they chose Kennewick. We hope that if you know any of them, that you'll reach out and tell them that they did a great job with their videos. We sure will, and we appreciate their willingness to help. Now we just talk a little bit about next steps. So if we've sparked your interest or one of your family members or friends' interest in looking at jobs in Kennewick, it's a pretty easy process. All of our jobs are located at www.ksd.org on our website, which I know many of you are familiar with, under the jobs tab. And you can go in and you can see each title of every kind of job listed there on our page. If you click on the job, you'll see the descriptions that talk about the requirements and the dates of work, the salary. Obviously, different jobs have different types of requirements, from working in an office to teaching to bus driving. All those types of jobs have different requirements. So it's a good place to kind of get a really good idea of the job descriptions, the job requirements, what the day-to-day job looks like. There's a place on each job to apply. If you haven't created an account in the past, you can just create real quickly an account with your email. That works for all jobs. You only do that once. And then from there, you can pick the jobs that you want to apply for, put in your information. And our hiring managers and our screeners and our administrators, then as the jobs close, the window for application closes, they begin to look at all the applicants and screen. And then people are contacted for interviews and conversations and things that move forward into the hiring part of the job. So with that, we'd like to take some questions or share anything else. If there's anyone that has questions, we'd be happy to talk more in depth about any of the topics that we hit already. And I think I have somebody that's going to help us with that. Robin.
Hi, this is Robin Chastain, the Executive Director of Communications and Public Relations for Kennewick School District, and I'll just walk us through the question and answer period. So if any of our attendees at home have questions, you can simply enter those in the Q&A box, and then we'll just go down the list and we'll ask Doug and Toni those questions. So we do have a great question to start off with, and that is, will we be holding an in-person teacher job fair this year?
That's a great question. We are planning to have a job fair later in the spring, probably middle to the latter part of April. We are working on a virtual format for that job fair and are reviewing different options of how we might do that. But we will have communication out in the next few weeks about that so people can get that on their calendar. I think there's a lot of positive technology out there. Many of our friends and colleagues and other organizations have done virtual job fairs, and that looks like, because of the COVID restrictions and large gatherings and 6-foot distancing, we made the decision to do that virtually this year. So that is coming, and we will see more information about that.
And our next question, I know this can happen to any kind of applicant, and it can be quite frustrating, but when you put in multiple applications and you don't seem to receive any callbacks, but you're told that sometimes the schools only hire from the sub pool. Is this true for teaching positions and for other positions?
That's not necessarily always the case. One of the tricky things about working in a school district is we have labor unions. And if we have current employees that are applying for positions, they have what's called seniority with those positions. So a lot of times our positions will get filled internally. But if you ever have a question about your application or where things are at in the process, you should contact the Human Resources Office. We have great staff there that can answer your questions and help you kind of navigate that as well.
Great. And Doug, can you touch on the teaching part of that? Does it help to be a substitute teacher going into a school year where there might be applications or job positions available for the next year?
Yes, thank you. It never hurts. Similar to what Toni explained, the teachers, if you're a current teacher in the district and you have seniority rights, then if a position comes open in another building, you would have the opportunity to go to that position prior to somebody new coming in from outside the district. The key with substitute teaching that really helps a lot of our substitutes is you have time to build relationships with building administrators and other teachers in buildings. So when those jobs become available outside of the internal movement, you're a known person, you're a known commodity. People will often look to great substitute teachers that they have had. They will look to them to apply for the openings that they know are going to be open to everybody. So there's great benefit in spending some time substitute teaching just for the networking and the opportunities to show off your skills as a teacher for when those jobs become available.
And how many elementary teaching positions do you expect to have for the 21-22 school year? And is it difficult to apply from out of state, or do we receive a lot of out of state applicants?
So the first answer to that is it's hard to tell how many elementary positions we will have open. This is the time of year in March and April where we get some of our teachers retiring from the profession. We also look at student enrollment at each of our elementary schools and how many teachers are needed. But in a typical year, we will hire anywhere from probably 40 to 50 elementary teachers across our district. In some years, it's bigger than that. And not very often is it smaller than that. But I anticipate 40 to 50, somewhere in that range. And what was the second part of the question, Robin? Oh,
The
out of
second
state,
part.
out of state.
Yes.
Yeah, we hire lots of teachers from other states. Washington State Certification Program through the State Education Office has a pretty good reciprocity rule with certificates coming from other states. I know I personally have hired students coming out of universities from all over the West Coast and across the nation. So it shouldn't be if you're the person that the school wants to teach, we haven't run into a lot of interference for out-of-state candidates at all.
Great. And then when do applicants typically hear back about their application on whether or not they're going to get an interview or if they're not going to get an interview?
So that's going to vary based on the position and where the administrators are in the hiring process. But everyone should get a response that either they're going to be invited for an interview or the position has been filled. Again, if you reach out to our office, they are super helpful in letting you know where they are in the interview process or the application process. But sooner or later, you should get some kind of message one way or the other if you're going to be offered an interview or if the position has been filled.
And the next question is, how hard is it to get a sub position? And I'm assuming this might be a teaching sub position.
I can answer for both teachers and classified substitutes. We have teaching positions, substitute teaching positions available for both candidates who have teaching degrees and teaching certificates, but we also have an emergency substitute teaching position available to candidates who have completed a bachelor's degree in any area. Really, they can apply to be emergency sub teacher. We'll screen those applications, have a short interview with the candidate, talk about and orient them to what substitute teaching is. So to be a substitute teacher, you don't always have to have that teaching certificate, but we do require a bachelor's degree for that. For the classified substituting, say for paraeducators or nutrition services, bus drivers, secretaries, those positions are also on the website and the qualifications are listed. I will let Toni speak to that as she works with that population more than I do.
So really the application process is pretty simple. And you would just need to submit a complete application. And then we go through a couple of steps in terms of reference checking, and everyone that is going to be considered for hire has to also have a background check through the Washington State Patrol. But the process is relatively easy, and we love to get substitutes. So if you're interested, please apply. I encourage you to apply. Both of our substitute coordinators are amazing and get people moving real fast. So it's a pretty painless process, just a couple of steps, but that application is what's most important.
Great. And can you explain what type of benefits Kennewick School District has?
Sure. Our benefits program is the same as all public school employees across the state. The School Employees Benefits Board runs that statewide, and they're very good benefits, as Toni mentioned in her part of the presentation. To qualify for those benefits, an employee would have to work at least half-time throughout the course of a year. But they include a comprehensive medical package, vision, dental. There's opportunities for, our district provides opportunities to buy supplemental insurances in some cases. And so I'm trying to think, it used to be where each district went out and found the best benefit packages that they felt like were good for their employees. And it's been about 3 or 4 years now where the state has brought all districts under one umbrella for benefits. But the quality of the benefits is something that many employees will tell you is a great reason why they went into education.
Are teachers with more experience having a more challenging time finding positions now because of changes in funding at the state? Or has that made a difference?
Well, I've found that in Kennewick, principals and administrators and teachers and buildings have always gone after the very best and chose to hire the best possible candidate for the position. Sometimes those are candidates that are right out of school, and sometimes they're candidates from other districts that have more experience. So I don't think we've spent an inordinate amount of time trying to reject applicants that have more experience. I know that especially in some of our hard to fill positions, in our bilingual positions, our special education positions, we've hired teachers from other districts with decades of experience. So.
Great. And on the references, it says you need 2 email addresses. Do you actually need 2? And do these just need to be coworkers?
So we do like to have at least 2 references for all applicants. And it's a really good idea if you have a former supervisor that can provide a reference for you, as opposed to friends or family. We really kind of want to get an idea of how you work and the qualities that would benefit us in Kennewick.
Okay, well, what if you don't have 2 supervisors to list on a reference? Can you list volunteer leaders?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Volunteer leaders, it could be someone from your church. It could be community members as well.
Okay. And then how do you add a cover letter to the application? And do you make it generic for all the jobs you're applying for, or do you customize it for each job you're applying for?
So the way the software works on our website to apply is you can upload documents into the area. So we would say if you're going to attach a cover letter, put that as the first page of the resume document. That way, when you upload those pages into the application, you see and a supervisor opens it up, they see the cover letter, and then behind it, they see the resume. Depending on what type of position you're applying for, you can customize those cover letters to speak to the job qualifications and the posting. I think that's always a good idea, that a cover letter says these are the skills I have that match up with the job I'm applying for. It's really up to the individual applicant as they apply for another job within the system if they want to change that cover letter or they want to leave the same one. So applicants can choose what they think is the best way to share about themselves for each particular job.
Doug, do we ever have internships in management, like in business management, specifically at the district office?
That's a good question. I know we've had some internships outside the field K-12 education, for example, we've had mental health workers who have done internships in our schools that go on to complete their degree in the mental health field and go work in that arena. I'm not sure if I know of any interns in business management, but I wouldn't dismiss the idea just because we haven't done it in the past. If it was applicable and it was worked with the program that person was doing and it worked for the district, we would entertain a conversation about that.
And this one's for you, Doug, as well. If a candidate has a K-8 cert, but takes the NES test that certifies or endorses them in a specific field, K-12, can they be hired by a high school, or do they need to acquire the 612 general cert?
Within special education jobs, those are good K-12, but for other areas, the 612 cert is usually necessary to work in a high school.
And then how soon do we generally hire externally for the teaching positions? Do we hire closer to summertime? I know that we're hiring all year round, but majority of them.
So some of those positions will start to show up on our website. I know there's a few that are already there, and they'll start to continue to show up and culminate around that May timeline. It just depends on the position. Sometimes a position that's posted now, there are no internal candidates, so we are hiring outside candidates now. You certainly wouldn't want to wait and assume that all the jobs that are posted now are going to internal candidates, because even though that is the case, sometimes it's not the case all the time. So if I am an outside candidate looking to teach in Kennewick, I would apply for any position that I'm qualified for, whether it's posted now or in April or May or June.
And Toni, if I saw a job that was classified and it was listed as bilingual qualified, how would I get qualified for bilingual and get tested in my Spanish oral and written?
So we do that at the district, and we're able to provide that testing to ensure that people are qualified bilingual speakers. We do have a lot of positions, though, that are also bilingual preferred. So don't see that as a roadblock, but we would help facilitate that to ensure that you would be able to perform that function within that role.
And Doug, do we post our each teaching positions, or do we hire in a pool?
Each individual position is posted on our website, so you will know the building, location, and the type of teaching position it is. And so we have our building administrators and our building teams, teachers, classified staff. They take the lead on hiring teachers for that building. The district office does not bring in large pools of candidates and hire folks and then parcel them out to each school. It's actually a school-based process.
And can I apply for school district positions through other job application platforms like Indeed?
No. You have to visit the district website. We have encountered companies like that will post our positions, but you can't apply from their sites. You have to go directly to the Kennewick School District site that Doug cited earlier and click on jobs.
That's right. And I would just add that if any candidate ever has any questions about how to apply, or they feel like they're stuck in the process, as Toni mentioned before, a quick phone call to the Human Resources Office, and we have a lot of really knowledgeable folks that'll walk you through any hang up you might have.
Speaking of getting stuck in the process, what's the best internet browser to use when you're using the job applications website?
I would say probably Google Chrome would be the best one to use.
if someone has multiple transcripts that they want to attach to their application, how do they do that?
I spoke a little bit to uploading the documents. There's a place to upload transcripts. If you have multiple transcripts, I would upload them as a set. That way, as we open them up, you can see page after page after page of transcripts. If you try to just do one upload and then go back and do a second upload, it'll replace the first one. So put all the transcripts together you want us to look at and upload them as a continuous document.
And then for teachers, you need to include the NES and WESB scores?
You don't have to. We have access to those scores through the state systems. You can if you'd like to, it's fine, but it's not required.
And do you have to upload the teaching certificate?
Yes, if you have your teaching certificate, there is a place to upload that, and we appreciate that, and that makes your application complete a lot quicker.
Great. And then I've got one last question here. I'm starting a master's in teaching this summer. The program I'm entering is accelerated. It's based on the assumption that I'll get a teaching position at the same time as I'm going to school. I think we have a lot of folks that have done that program. What's your opinion about that type of program?
We have hired folks that are doing things like that. Not opposed to it. I think that the state and districts as a whole have tried to look for ways to recruit and hire applicants who are working on their final degree, their final certifications. So we're not opposed to having those conversations. There are some limitations to what we can do in terms of where folks are in the, along the timeline of completion of their program. So those are just conversations that we would have with individual applicants about their status, the program they're in, the job they're applying for. And, if everything comes together nicely and it's something we're able to do and the candidate is who the building would like to hire, then we're sometimes able to do that. But there are a lot of moving parts to those types of situations. So usually it involves some individual conversations.
Great, and that's all the questions that we have. I just wanted to give everybody another moment in case they think of one more question they want to add. So I'll watch the Q&A box. I did put a link in the chat if you want to sign up for Ksd Job Alerts. This is a really good link to have. You just put in your email and then every week you'll get sent the jobs for that week. It's also good to check in on the job site midweek, just so you can get a jump start on your applications and not necessarily wait till Sunday when you get the job alert email. But I don't see any more questions, Doug and Toni, so I think that's all we have.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's been, as I said at the beginning, I enjoy talking about the Kennewick School District. It's been such a great place to work for me and so many others in this community. And we just appreciate the community support, and the people that work in this district really make it a fun place to be. So we hope you'll tell others that weren't able to tune in tonight about the opportunities that we have. We hope that you're able to get your questions answered when you call us, and we look forward to reaching out to others who might be interested in a career in Kennewick. So thank you very much and have a good night.
Thank you. And I just want to add to keep your eye on that website, because we are going to start posting positions for summer and for fall. So just expect to see the opportunities grow in the very near future. We hope to see some of your names there. Thank you.